You are lying in bed at 1:37 a.m., staring at your phone. You and this person have been texting all day. Memes, trauma dumps, I can't sleep, voice notes, a suspicious amount of flirting for just friends. You hang out, you cuddle, you hold hands in the back of Ubers, you kiss, sometimes by accident. They send good morning texts. They ask if you got home safe. They tell you things they don't tell anyone else. But then someone asks the cursed question, "So, are you guys together?" Cue the panic. Your soul screams, "Yes, obviously." Your mouth goes, "Haha, no, we're just vibing." Welcome to hell. Welcome back to Simply Chaos. The channel for people who are emotionally invested, romantically confused, and somehow still saying, "It's not that deep," with a cracked voice. Today's episode of The Scam, The Situationship Trap, Why Gen Z Can't Commit, but also can't let go. Because a situationship is not just casual. It is like working an unpaid internship for a company that keeps saying, "We really value you," but somehow never puts you on payroll. You are doing relationship work on a free trial with no guarantee you will ever get the full version. Let's actually name what you are stuck in. A situationship is when you do all the soft launch couple things, late night calls, emotional support, physical intimacy, sharing playlists and secrets. But the second anyone tries to give it a label, both of you act like someone pulled a fire alarm. You have chemistry, you have history. You just do not have commitment. And the worst part is not even the confusion. It is the rules no one talks about, but everyone feels. You do not have the right to be jealous because you are not officially together. You do not have the right to be upset if they talk to other people, because we never said we were exclusive.
What are we?
You do not have the right to ask, "What are we?" more than once without being called needy. So you end up in this psychological torture chamber where you feel everything a partner feels, but you are not allowed to act like a partner. When it ends, and it usually does, it is grief with no funeral. Your friends say, "But you were not even dating?" And you just sit there like, "Cool. So I am not only heartbroken, I am also dramatic." Here is how the trap usually starts. It never begins with, "We are in a situationship now." It starts with the talking stage. You match on an app. You start texting. It's fun, it's flirty, it's low stakes. Then it becomes daily, then nightly, then good morning and good night every single day. You start sharing childhood trauma like you are on a podcast. You start FaceTiming while you both do nothing. At some point, it quietly crosses the line from talking to basically together. But we did not shake hands on it, so technically it does not count. You start acting like a partner, checking in, listening to their problems, giving emotional support, planning to see them. But anytime the conversation gets close to labels, one of you hits the eject button. We are just seeing where it goes. I am not ready for a relationship right now. I like what we have. I do not want to ruin it with labels. You say, "Yeah, totally, me too," while your chest feels like someone sat on it. Under that fake chill attitude is something deeper. You are scared. Scared they will leave if you ask for more. Scared of getting rejected outright instead of floating in the maybe. Scared of becoming that person who wants commitment in a culture that worships casual. So you convince yourself that vibes are enough. Spoiler, they are not. Then there is the potential problem. In a situationship, half the time you are not dating the person in front of you. You are dating their potential. You are not in love with them, ignoring your texts for 8 hours, and then sending, "Sorry I fell asleep at 3 in the afternoon." You are in love with the version of them in your head who is healed, emotionally available, and magically ready in 6 to 9 business months. You think, they are just scared. If I am patient and cool, and not like other people who pressure them, they will eventually choose me. You do not love the bare minimum they are giving you now. You love the idea of who they could be once you fix them, or once life stops being so crazy right now. Meanwhile, in reality, they are doing the exact amount of effort required to keep you from leaving, but never enough to make you feel secure. That is not an accident. That is intermittent reinforcement. The same strategy casinos use. You do not get attention consistently. You get it in random, intense bursts. A perfect date, a deep conversation, a weekend that feels like a movie. Then they disappear for a bit. Your brain, instead of seeing this as a red flag, goes, "We just need to get back to that one perfect weekend. Maybe if I try a little harder." Congratulations, you are emotionally gambling. Then we have the unspoken rules of a situationship. You cannot double text. You cannot ask, "Who are you with?" without sounding insane. You cannot say, "I miss you," too often. You definitely cannot ask, "So are you talking to anyone else?" because then you might hear the answer you do not want, and the spell will break. So you put on the coolest mask you own. You become the chill person. I am not looking for anything serious either. I am good with whatever. No worries, totally understand if you are busy. Meanwhile, inside, you are overanalyzing every reply, rereading every message, spiraling when they watch your story, but do not respond to your text. On the outside, LOL. On the inside, this is my entire personality now. And all of this is happening against the background of modern dating, which is basically a casino run by algorithms. You are on Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. Everyone is technically one swipe away from someone else. There is always another match, another hey, another person who looks good in 3 curated photos. Commitment starts to feel like bad business. Why close the app when you can keep the options open? So you end up in this weird market mindset, even if you hate it. You do performance. You try to be chill, funny, attractive, mysterious, not too available, not too distant, always perfectly balanced. You become a brand, not a person. Add to that the stuff a lot of Gen Z grew up with. Parents divorcing, seeing long-term marriages fall apart, watching adults be miserable in relationships they stayed in because of the kids. Combine that with unstable jobs, housing crises, debt. You get a generation that says, I cannot even commit to a phone plan, you want me to commit to a person? So situationships feel like a compromise. All the feelings, none of the labels, all the intimacy, none of the we need to talk about the future conversations. It feels safer until it does not. The cost hits you slowly because on paper you are free. You can technically see other people, talk to other people, act single. In reality, your brain is stuck. You compare everyone to them. You wait for their text before making plans. You accidentally build your schedule around their availability, even though they refuse to call you their partner. You become the emotional support hotline they can call at any hour, while they remain not ready for anything serious. It is like standing in a waiting room with no door, just hoping at some point someone opens it and says, okay, now you are allowed to be happy. So here is the scam. Situationships sell you the fantasy that you can have all the benefits of a relationship without any of the vulnerability of a commitment. In reality, you end up paying full emotional price for something that never fully belongs to you. And to be very clear, the other person is not always a villain twirling a mustache. A lot of people in situationships are just as messed up, scared, and confused as you. Maybe they genuinely do not know what they want. Maybe they are terrified of hurting you by being honest, so they stay vague. Maybe they like you, but not enough to choose you. That is painful, but it is not always evil. The scam is not they are monsters. The scam is you convincing yourself that staying in this limbo hurts less than walking away. So what do you do with all of this, besides spiral? First, you get painfully honest with yourself. Not with them, with you. If no one judged you, if you were not scared of losing them, if you were not trying to look cool, what would you actually want from this person? If your answer is, I want a real relationship, not this half-energy guessing game, then you already know the situationship is not aligned with you. You are not crazy. You are not asking too much. You just want what you are already acting like you have. Second, you stop negotiating with their potential and start listening to their patterns. If every time you hint at labels, they dodge. If they treat you like a priority when they are lonely and like an option when they are busy. If they say, I am not ready for a relationship, believe them the first time. Do not treat that as a challenge. Treat it as information. Wishing they were different does not make them different. Loving the version of them in your imagination does not change the version of them in your notifications. Third, you remember that walking away from a situationship does not mean it was nothing. Of course it is going to hurt. Of course you are going to grieve. Of course your brain will say, what if I had just waited a bit longer? That is normal. That is what happens when you stop giving your heart away on a month-to-month lease and realize you want to own your life again. You are allowed to be sad about someone you were never official with. You are allowed to cry, to rant, to talk about it like a real breakup. Emotional investment does not become fake just because the label was finally. You are allowed to want something boring and clear. In a world where everything is, it's complicated, you are allowed to want someone who says, I like you, I am choosing you, and I am not keeping 50 doors open just in case. That does not make you clingy. That makes you sane. You are not failing because you cannot survive on almost forever. You are not weak because your heart wants something steadier than goodnight texts with no commitment behind them. Maybe the real rebellion for our generation is not having the most situationships, the coolest talking stages, the most chaotic dating stories. Maybe it is saying, if you want all the parts of me that feel like a partner, then you actually have to show up like one. This is simply chaos. If you have ever stared at your phone, rewriting "What are we?" in your head 100 times and then deleting it, if you have ever cried over someone you were never officially with and then gaslit yourself for being dramatic, this episode is for you. Hit subscribe, send this to that one friend who keeps calling it nothing serious, with tears in their eyes, and maybe, just maybe, ask yourself, am I actually okay with this? Or am I just scared I will not get anything better? And then ask one more. Given my heart, my chaos, and my future, what is the next tiny decision that gets me out of almost and closer to something real?